What's good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'll break down what's going on with the news affecting the market, what you should be watching for in the pre-market, and what's happening with the economic calendar, as all this is going to affect the markets. But before I break anything down what's going on with the market and break down some very important charts, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks. And this offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the charts thus far and the market. Looking at SPY, one thing that's very evident is the fact that we have this very, very bearish looking channel that SPY has been stuck in for the last couple of trading days. And with that being said, we're actually still in this channel. This is what I was expecting yesterday. And we're approaching a very critical support, which is going to be huge, right? We're in this 468 area. We need to hold this. If we end up losing this, that's going to be a bad sign. If we close below this, make sure you watch today's close. It's going to be very important. If we close below 468, that's going to be an even worse sign. We're going to see even more bearish price action. So I just wanted to warn you about that. I'll be going into more details in just a few minutes. But now let's just talk about the news and some data first. So for the new year, the Nasdaq is down 1.18% on just Wednesday alone. The market's been diving since, especially Apple, which is taking a big hit. On top of all of this, there's more news coming out right over here that the Fed indicated that's not actually ready to cut rates yet. They are going to likely happen in 2024, but they're not sure when they may end up happening according to the minutes. And so far, they've held the same benchmark steady. So they're basically telling us that they're not planning on raising rates again. There are going to likely be cuts coming, but they're not as sure when. And the market was kind of like in the middle with this. That's why we saw the market kind of pop and drop yesterday. But overall, there wasn't really anything happening. All it really did is just kind of like lead to more uncertainty about when they're going to be cutting rates and such. There's some news that came out that GM just had its best year of vehicle sales since 2019, which was reported on Wednesday. It sold 2.6 million vehicles in 2023. That's a 14.1% increase over 2024. Once again, not bad whatsoever. Good for GM. And let's just hope that they continue to do well as time goes on. Some of their EVs, especially from the Chevy Volt and etc., they're actually still finding some benefits from the $7,500 incentives and other federal tax credits. Oil prices rose more than 3% on Wednesday as tensions remain high in the Red Sea. This is very important. This is having a big effect on the markets, not to mention crude. On top of that, finally, there's more news coming out that Xerox basically plans on cutting 15% of its workforce this quarter. Once again, that's what the previous SEC filings are saying. And these layoffs are basically affecting more and more companies and more employees. So that's some negative news. But besides that, those are the main headlines affecting the markets. Last but not least, we have our economic calendar. Please note that 15 minutes after the stock market opens, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI, the S&P Global Services PMI. This data is all going to be coming out. And then after that, make sure you watch for some volatility, see how the market reacts 15 minutes after market open. And then after that, that's pretty much it for data except for this. At 11:30 a.m., we have the 4-week and the 8-week bill auctions coming out. This could also cause some volatility, so we'll see if this causes the market to shift directions. If there's a sell-off, we'll be looking at what these bill auctions look like. They might be elevated as a result of more uncertainty from the Fed, so just be a little bit careful at 11:30. But those are the two times to be watching for some volatility in Eastern Standard Time. Initial jobless claims came out at 202,000, a little bit below expectations this morning. Not the best for the markets. That's part of why the market kind of dropped a bit and came back up. But the market's still flat from this. So the status not hurting it that much. And besides that, 9:45 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when you should be looking at the charts and watching for volatility. So looking at SPY, this is actually in a very critical state right now. I just want to note that SPY is looking bearish. We still look bearish this morning. There's no sign of this thing truly getting a nice bounce. We're still kind of selling off just a bit. And then on top of that, we're looking kind of weak on the 30 minutes time frame. I'm going to look at the daily real quick. Just to double check the daily, we're just barely, I think we're just barely holding this very important support right here at the 20 EMA. It's going to be at this 468 area. We're going to be watching if this holds. So with that being said, it's very simple. Today's technical analysis is super simple. Basically, we have this channel, as you guys could see, going back and forth like this, right? Up down, up, down, and the list goes on, right? So this is what we're doing so far. We're trending downwards like this, right? You guys could quite clearly see that. Now, in order for this to continue, in order for us to remain bearish, we need to see SPY lose 468, our critical support at 468. If we lose that, expect SPY to start sinking much lower. 467, 465 is coming even lower levels than that. There's going to be a bigger drop, in my opinion, if we lose 468, and also if we close below that. So losing it is one thing, but even if we do lose it today, it is still possible we try to close back above it if the market bounces. My point is a break below that is bearish, but to be even more bearish, we need to close below 468. If we close below 468, there's going to be a much bigger drop to the downside, and SPY is going to be sinking much lower. I just want to warn you guys about that. 468 is very important. Now, if we try to be bullish, want to see it break out and try to get back above 470, then 472. As of right now, technicals do not show signs of a nice bounce yet. It's going to depend on how we react to the 20 EMA, but we're still looking bearish. We're still looking kind of weak, so just be careful and make sure you watch 468. That's a very important support. We need to hold that in order for there to be hope for the bulls. If we lose it, don't just lose it, but if we also close below it, it's going to be bearish for today. So make sure you watch that support very carefully. On the triple Q, we have resistance now around this 399 area and also 402. We have support developing at 395 technically, so right about there. I'm going to actually double check this. So 395 right here, and this didn't get marked for me for some reason. And then below that, I mean, our next target, if we end up losing that, we could see a much bigger drop all the way down to 392.5, so like right over here. So we're going to be watching these levels very carefully just to see how this thing ends up reacting. It's also 394 right here. On the triple Q, we have support at 396.5. If we lose this, our next target is going to be 395, 394, and then 392.5. Those are our supports. We're on a downwards channel. As you guys can see, we're just downtrending, so it does look bearish. If we lose 396.5, expect 395, and then these much lower levels. Unfortunately, it looks bearish overall. And just like for SPY, if you want to turn bullish, you want to see this thing break back above 402. So far, it hasn't done that. It's still favoring the bears, and it looks like it might just continue to sink. So QQQ is looking pretty weak. If I just pull up the chart here, you'll see it's looking pretty weak, especially on the daily. Could see a much bigger drop down now, especially if we lose 395. If we lose 395, we're going to be heading down to 390 towards the 50 EMA on the daily. So it looks bearish overall. What about for Tesla? As for Tesla stock, I would say that Tesla's looking a little bit weak as well. We have a downwards channel that's developing. We're just barely holding 237. We're just barely holding this. We have resistance at 240, 242, and then 244. We have support at 237. If we lose this, our next target is going to come all the way down here towards 234 to 233. And if we lose that, we have 230 coming next as our critical level, and then 228. These are the two levels I had marked before. I'm going to remark them. Tesla, unfortunately, is looking kind of weak. It's just barely holding up. So we'll watch and see if it holds support at 237. If we lose that, expect a much bigger drop all the way down to the much mid to lower 230s. All right. So Tesla's on a downward channel. If you look at this, it's just continuing to sink. On top of that, Tesla is, especially on a daily time frame, still looking very weak. I could see it retrace to the lower 230s. No sign of a bounce. It favors the bears for now. So make sure you watch support and resistance. On Nvda has potential to bounce because it's trying to form an inverse head and shoulders, but this could be a trap. So we'll have to see if this holds or not. To be bullish, you want to see it break 482. If it breaks 482, Nvda could bounce when you have an inverse head and shoulders setup. But if it fails, because so far it's trying to fail in the pre-market, if it fails, you need to see it lose 473. If we lose this, this is going to be invalidated, and Nvidia is going to start sinking back down to 468 or so. So it's looking like it might fail, looking at how it's sinking, but just to be safe, watch and see if it bounces from here or not. I'm going to be eyeing this inverse head and shoulders to see if this leads to a bounce or not. It could just be a trap for retail, so always be very careful with these. And overall, Nvidia is still looking kind of weak. So we'll see if it ends up breaking or not. We'll see if this inverse head and shoulders pans out, if Nvidia gets a bounce here or not. I'm always open-minded to anything, but just to be safe, so far, there's no sign of it actually getting a big bounce yet. There's no sign of that yet. It is just barely trying to hold the 50 EMA, but this could just still fail later on. So just be very careful at 473. See if that holds or not. If anything, that's it for Nvda. Last but not least, for Apple stock. Apple, in my opinion, is looking bearish, barely holding 182 as a support down here. We're going to be watching this support very carefully to see if Apple could hold this. If we lose that, we could be seeing this thing come all the way down to about 180. That's going to be our next critical support. And then we have resistance at 183.5, 184.25, 185, and then 186.5. So Apple is looking bearish. It's just barely holding 182. If we lose this, we could get very close to 180. Still favors the bears. Anyways, watch your levels. Do what you have to do, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this pre-market update. And I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you and peace out.